103, 5 Lincoln 102, Lincoln 103 and 102.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
Henry 8, Henry 9. Respond to gate 437 Bravo for your dignitary detail. 3K 911 unattended 400 lower level near carousel 4 black bag. GTA in progress 401 parking structure section 4 boy.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
415 passenger onboard aircraft.
Control 2 Franklin en route.
484 suspect, female, Hispanic, 28 years of age, blue jeans, no further.
Control 5 Frank 401 is en route.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio, a production of Private Officer International, a private security and law enforcement organization since 2004. Now, I'm your host, Rick McCann, and we are so happy to have you with us on this edition. Like every week, we do have a lot to talk about. We've got a lot happening in the news. And we still have that nasty COVID virus happening. Unbelievable. Whether you believe in it or not, it's still something to be aware of. Take precautions and just don't throw caution to the wind. Be prepared. It's always better to take the necessary steps to protect yourself and it be nothing than forget about it and don't take any precautions, and something bad happens. So we do have a lot of that happening. We're going to be talking about that coming up here in this hour. Lots more happening, and we'll be talking about all of that. We also have several persons who have been recipients of recent awards. We want to mention them as well, mention their good work. And we also have some job openings throughout the country, and we'll be talking more about that as well. Now, remember our sponsors, Body Armor USA. We've got what it takes to protect you, whether you're looking for body armor, protective clothing, gloves, stab-resistant vest. If you're working in private security, law enforcement, corrections, whatever it might be, check out our buddies over there at bodyarmorusa.com. Tell them that Private Officers sent you. They have everything that you'll need to protect yourself. Body Armor USA, we've got what it takes to protect you. And, of course, they're a special sponsor, and they're going to take good care of you. Like I said, we do have a lot coming up here on this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. A lot to talk about. Those of you who missed our first roundtable discussion, we've got another one coming up next week. We'll be sending out emails on that. We've got some really cool discounted training online, some quick certifications, and we've got several new schools. Wow, that sounded like a lot, didn't it? Well, it is. We've got a few new schools, and we've got several others that are about to come online. If you haven't checked out armorcollege.org, do that today. Armor College is a public safety and technical training school opening up near you. We've got campuses now in numerous states, and we're growing, and we'll be talking a little bit more about how you can get involved in that and make a little money on the side. Right now, we want to talk about the COVID virus for a moment. I know you have heard enough of it. I know you've seen it on the internet, on your phone, on the TV, and the news, day after day after day. Now, for 5 months, the world, not just the country, has been talking about it. But as I said a moment ago, whether you believe in it or not, whether you think it's nothing to be concerned about or really something that you need to pay close attention to, it is important that we discuss really what's happening. So as I've said throughout the last couple of months, yes, there are going to be cases where there are underlying conditions. And really, that should not be a concern. If a 71-year-old person has diabetes, that doesn't mean that the diabetes brought on COVID-19. It doesn't mean that it assisted in the aggressive nature of COVID-19 or in the death. And as I mentioned in an online interview I did a few days ago and on this program as well, unless you do a full-blown autopsy, there is no correct, decisive, 100% sure way of knowing what that person has died for. In fact, recent autopsies have shown that they were inconclusive. The person had several medical conditions. He had all the symptoms of COVID. And so, he or she is a COVID death. I don't want to stay too much on how the numbers are added or subtracted and how they're calculated and whether or not they're fair. But I do want to stay on this topic. We know that prevention starts with you. By good hygiene, washing your hands often, just like you would with the flu, wearing a mask whenever you're in public. If you're going to be working on a post, let's say that you're at a convenience store, a grocery store, a high-traffic area, unless you can get outside, unless you can, distance yourself from other people, then it would be wise to wear a covering, a face covering or a mask. It's just for your benefit. Does it help 100% if someone sneezes in your direction? No, it does not. In fact, a mask is to help the other person from you, from catching something from you. So that's the other thing that we try to explicitly inform people about. People think by wearing a mask, it's going to protect me from others. No, it actually protects others from you. And so, but if I can just have that 1% or 3% or 6% protection by wearing a mask, even if it doesn't protect all the time 100%, that's fine. That's fine. I'd rather do that than risk dying or becoming extremely ill. Now, just recently, a security officer who works at a hospital out in Arizona gave his testimony after catching COVID-19 and suffering himself. And we're going to have a little bit about that story coming up in this show today. But I've talked to a number of other security personnel who have not been wearing PPE, doesn't even have it on the site, really hasn't had opportunity to wash their hands as frequently as they should, and they've caught COVID. And others potentially, could be asymptomatic, which means they have COVID. It's just not showing in their signs and symptoms at this moment. Talk to TSA. Hey, guess what? About 1,100 or 1,200 of their staff has had or currently has COVID-19. I don't care if it's just the symptoms of the flu. I don't care if it's 103 temperature. They're ill. They're not at work. They're not providing for their family. And they can definitely infect other people around them. There's been a number of TSA agents and at least one contracted security officer that we know of that was working for TSA that has died. Right now, we have 162 people that have died of COVID or involving COVID, 162 security officers. And that, my friend, is just outrageous. Of any profession across the board, whether it be doctors, nurses, police officers, firefighters, other first responders, construction workers, retailers, whatever it might be, it looks to me like private security has really, once again, felt the brunt of the effects of this virus. Oftentimes, security officers, because they are out, visible, in contact with the public, are the first to receive or to be infected by the flu or other diseases. What the headlines don't tell you, and as we have, and what the headlines don't tell you is that security officers are often infected with all sorts of diseases, all sorts of illnesses because of their jobs. Even if you're in the lobby of an office high-rise and you are signing people in and out, you are in contact with someone who could be very ill. They could be carrying any type of virus or illness that you can think of. And you can be infected. Not only infected, but you can infect others unknowingly because you don't know that you are infected. We're going to take a quick break. We've got a lot of things to talk about here on this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Be sure, if you're not already receiving our email alerts, officer down alerts, and our training notices, go to our website, privateofficer.org. Sign up today. They're absolutely free. Now, let me say this little caveat. I don't know what some people are looking for when they sign up for these news alerts. There are times when people opt out a few days or a few weeks after signing up for them because they put down not what I expected. Or I get too many emails from you. Number one, we're telling you, these are news alerts. Whenever there's something important, above the average, out of the norm, we're going to send you an alert so that you can read it. If an officer killed in the line of duty, you're going to be notified. And occasionally, maybe a couple of times a month, you're going to get a ad or a sales alert or maybe a training alert that's happening in your area. We don't spam. We don't push marketing like other free newsletters and news options. We try to honor and respect people, their privacy and their time. So let me tell you straight up, the newsletters are great. And we also have a weekly newsletter, which we have suspended during the COVID-19, but starting next month, August, that'll be twice a week, every 3 or 4 days, you'll get the newsletter, which is a little bit more detailed. We're going to take that quick break. When we come back, we've got so much more to talk about. You're listening to the Private.
Hi, everyone. Did you know that one organ donor can save up to 8 lives? The need for organ donors now is greater than ever. 120,000 people right now in the U.S. are waiting for an organ transplant. 95% of Americans support organ donation, but only a little over half are registered. My charity, Health Corps, has teamed up with Donate Life and Organize.org to save up to 500,000 lives by getting 62,500 folks to register as organ donors. If you're not registered, click the Register Now link to stand up and be counted. And when you're done, go on Facebook and tell us your story and add my hashtag #OrgansWill. For example, you might say, hashtag organs will make a difference. I'm an organ donor. Are you?
Hey everyone, you're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector right here on the Private Officer Radio Network. Now don't go away because we are coming right back when we've got a whole lot more right here on the Private Officer Beat Radio. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Private Officer Beat Radio. On the weather front today, we do have quite a bit happening in the tropical world. If you live along the Pacific, the Atlantic, or the Gulf Coast, guess what? You're probably going to be paid a visit within the next few hours of either a hurricane or a tropical storm. Right now, bearing down on the state of Hawaii, we have Hurricane Douglas, a very strong and dangerous Pacific hurricane, one that developed quickly and is expected to do some major damage. In monitoring communications from the Emergency Management Agency there, they say they are trying to be prepared, but they're not sure that they are, and there's many complications, including the COVID-19 pandemic that we've been experiencing for more than 5 months. Meanwhile, over on the Atlantic coast, a very strong tropical storm destined to turn into a hurricane within the next day or two, Hurricane Hannah, bearing down through the Atlantic on the U.S. And if all of that wasn't enough, tropical storm on the Texas doors, pounding in the Gulf, Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Now, this is not the first time that the U.S. has experienced hurricanes both in the Pacific and the Atlantic, while a tropical storm came roaring up the Gulf Coast. But it is still really early in the season, as we have way more to go. This is really early part of the season. So if you live along the Gulf Coast, Atlantic, or Pacific, especially if you're out in the Hawaii area, we want to make sure that you are prepared, that you stay tuned to your local weather, that you have supplies, and that you are ready to evacuate should that become necessary. Now, for those friends of ours up in the top northwestern area of the U.S. and down into the California area, you just experienced tsunami warnings. You just experienced the results of earthquakes in Alaska. I'm not going to say that, this isn't just a little bit strange, because it is. All of this activity, weather-wise, all happening right away. Now, 3-4 months ago, FEMA and multiple state EMAs got together for a conference call. We talked about having to put all of our skills to the test with the upcoming tropical storm season, along with COVID and other issues that we're experiencing across the country. People unemployed, people not having a lot of money to evacuate, people not having places to go, setting up a shelter in a COVID environment where you've got 200, 300, 500 people packed on each other. I don't know if you saw when we had the devastating Katrina, when it hit New Orleans and they packed them in to the Superdome downtown. That was just a catastrophe. A lot of people died ill. Just very heartbreaking. And we're really seeing that potential, that possibility again with the COVID-19 pandemic. The hurricane season going to be one of the most powerful, really storm-packed. We saw early on this year the first named storm. That was a month away from where it should have been. We began being slammed with tropical weather way too early. In the April and May and June and July, we've got one after the other storm rolling this way. We know that the water is heating up, and that causes larger storms and storms that develop much more quickly because they're coming through warmer weather. As long as they stay in the Atlantic, where the water usually is 10 to 20 degrees colder than the Gulf, we're usually okay, and they may make it to a Category 1, 2, or 3. But we're seeing now, with the water being warmer, it's nothing for a hurricane really to rapidly speed up and come from nothing to a Category 3 or 4. And that's what we're very afraid of this time around, along with the COVID. if you want to be involved in emergency services, if you want to be involved in EMA, FEMA, it's really a great cause. Send an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Another issue that we have in the news this week, and I'm telling you, I've had a number of people contact me to ask questions and my thoughts and opinions on this, but in Springs, Texas, just within the last few days, a 63-year-old security officer saw a deputy sheriff trying to corral a man evidently involved in some type of confrontation, disturbance, etc. The 63-year-old armed security officer was assaulted by the suspect. The deputy was assaulted. The security officer landed on his backside as a second deputy rolled up and jumped into action. During the struggle with the deputies, the man began to leave the area, and at some point, the armed security officer took it upon himself to use lethal force and kill the suspect. Now, many people want to know, is this justified? And, why was he arrested and charged with murder? Because Ronald Wayne Schubert, 63, has been arrested. He has been arrested. He's charged with first-degree murder. And people have asked me, why? Why is he not the hero? He aided police. He jumped in to the fray to help defend law enforcement. And you know what? In any other scenario, it probably would have been a great thing. And I told a friend of mine through email this weekend, I did a radio show a number of years ago, and I actually repeated it last year. And, it was called Great Intentions. Good intentions, bad decisions. You have good intentions, but unfortunately sometimes it's not the right thing to do at that moment. And in the case of Ronald Wayne Schubert, unfortunately for him, he didn't really have to take deadly lethal force. The officers and himself was not in imminent danger, and so that's why after reviewing it, the prosecutors went with murder one. Sadly, during the month of July, 17 security officers have killed people in the U.S. just during the month of July. Most that we reviewed with our lethal force team that we have put together about 3 years ago, made up of law enforcement current and prior, an attorney, a paralegal, and a specialist in the use of force. And we looked at the cases this month so far. We see about 4 that have really serious problems. The rest were okay. But this was one of those cases where excessive force was not warranted. And unfortunately, the security officer trying to do the right thing just really didn't. The man was fleeing the scene. That was one of the problems. And there were 2 deputies. The man had no weapons that we know of. And so we're going to be following this, and we'll report back to you. We're going to take a quick break. We got a lot to talk about. We want to talk about our upcoming annual Private Officer Memorial Service. We want to talk about a instructor in New York who took it upon himself to just collect money and hand out certificates. We see that more and more. It's dreadful. It's dreadful. And we want to talk about some openings within several of our companies, and also how you get involved, make more money, and even own your own business. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio.
Hey, Mom and Dad. There's a way to let your kids have fun.
And learn a skill that can save their life. That's how we got started.
That's right. My parents wanted me to feel safer around the water.
These big kids know.
Swimming is fun.
But safety, that's serious.
Studies show that formal swim lessons reduce the risk of childhood drowning by 88%.
And it's so easy to enroll. We have nearly 1,000 local partners and communities like yours who can't wait to help.
Join us today. Go to
USASwimmingFoundation.org
and click on the Find Swim Lessons link. it can open up amazing possibilities.
I learned how to swim.
Well done. Well done. The USA Swimming Foundation, saving lives and building champions.
What am I doing lying in this casket? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm dead. I got shot. I'm not supposed to be dead. I'm only 17. And now I can't see my 18th birthday because I'm a fatal victim of gun violence. My friends, my family, my own mother was devastated. Can't see her son anymore because of gun violence. And everyone's here at the funeral. But before they lay me to rest, there's just one last thing I have to do. How many more of us have to die from gun violence? Let's put a stop to this, because if we don't, the next time it could be your child lying in this casket.
Brought to you by Man Up Inc. USA, a proud member of the Gun Violence Awareness Movement.
If you're not already receiving breaking news and our bi-weekly newsletter, Officer Down reports, and discount training news in your personal or business email, then go to our website right now at privateofficer.org. Privateofficer.org. A drop box will come down. Just fill out your info, and you'll be the first, one of the first, for sure, to know about what's happening in the security industry. You'll know when a security officer is killed. You'll also get these great discounts on training and equipment and so much more. Privateofficer.org. And if you're not already a member of the Private Officer International Association, sign up while you're there today. Become a lifetime member for just $99, and we'll also include a free Private Officer International patch and lapel pin. If you are already a member, that's great, and we appreciate you. We'd like for you to spread the news and tell your coworkers, employees, and others in the industry about the Private Officer Group and how they can become a member and enjoy more than 40 member benefits. A New York State DCJS Special Peace Officer and Security Instructor Dennis Bremen has been found guilty after accepting fees for training not done. He came under investigation months ago. He was eventually arrested. He'd been actually in the spotlight before, and eventually they had enough evidence to charge the man. And the Peace Officer program is really a large part of the fabric of the state of New York security. Many agencies, hospitals, colleges, private companies depend on their peace officer status, where security can make an arrest on and around the property. It's very important. You'll also see in the city of New York there are dozens and maybe I might even say 100 or more peace officer agencies, the health department, the sanitation department, the parks department, et cetera, all have that peace officer status. It's 100+ hours in class, and it's a necessity. It's something that's very important, and it's becoming very prevalent in many states. But Dennis Bremen decided that he was going to circumvent the training requirements of the state of New York and just hand out the certificates and collect the money. Now, we do see this very often. We've seen it in Virginia. We've seen it in Florida. We've seen it in Oklahoma, Texas, many states that require regulatory training. There are a lot of reasons, of course, dishonesty, greed, but one of the top reasons why these things continue is because these regulatory agencies just do not have enough manpower to go out there and audit the classes that are being scheduled, Many states require that instructors input into the state system the dates, times, and locations where those classes are going to be held. And the whole purpose of that is so that investigators and staff can go and audit the class, make sure that the person is teaching the material as is outlined by the state and is doing it for the amount of time and putting in the effort that they should be for the amount of material, and also that they're not just collecting money and handing out certificates. We have had numerous cases, and sadly, many times. I've had 3 or 4 in the last number of years, probably 5 or 6, where we report good information, we have the evidence, but the state regulatory agency just doesn't follow up. Nothing ever happens. And if that does happen, they may send a letter or even issue a small fine, but it's just really a slap on the hand, on the wrist. It's not worth it. So many people don't report. And the other thing is that if you're a security instructor or a school, if you do report too many times, you really shine the spotlight on you, and all of a sudden you become the case. You become who they look after. So, you know the old saying, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But, hey, I don't know if you've ever participated in the annual Private Officer Memorial. We have that every year in the 3rd week of September. And it's to honor the men and women who die on duty trying to protect, trying to serve, protecting life and property, trying to do the best job that they possibly can. And we really have been honored with many certificates. We've had senators and representatives of all levels of government, law enforcement, FBI, ATF, DEA, U.S. Marshals, so on and so forth, all present during these memorial services that we've had through the years across the country. Well, this year, because of COVID-19, we have decided not to have our annual POI memorial service live as we normally do, but we are going to present a virtual memorial service, and we'll be coming up with an exact date and sending that out to you coming up here within the next month or so. So if you have attended a private officer memorial service in the past, this year it will be virtual from the comfort of your home or your office, and hopefully next year we will be able to get back on the road, someplace that I really, truly love to be. Before we take our next break, we are hiring a number of people. I'm looking to hire for Armor College 2 RNs in the state of Alabama, 1 in Mobile and 1 in Birmingham, to manage our healthcare program, which includes med techs, medical techs, technicians, EMTs, certified nurse assistants, and other basic life support, BLS and ALS. This is in Mobile, Alabama, and Birmingham, Alabama. If you're interested, if you're qualified, or you know someone who might be, send your resume and an introduction email to Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E, at armor.college.org. We're also hiring in Virginia a DCJS-led firearms instructor, and in South Carolina a SLED firearms instructor. Again, just send your resume and an intro email to Carrie at armorcollege.org. We have a lot of openings, but one of the things that I'm really interested in doing, with so many people being unemployed, so many people who have lost jobs that they'll never be able to get back, we're really starting to put all of our effort into helping people to own a business with little or nothing down. If you've ever wanted to own a security company, if you've ever wanted to own a training school, send an email to helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We want to talk to as many people as possible to see how we can help them to secure a future for themselves. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a lot of news to share with you, and a very important topic. Don't go away. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio.
No pigtails anymore.
Check, please.
David, you okay to drive?
Yeah, I only had a couple drinks. I'm fine.
Come on.
Keys can be a weapon. A few drinks can make you a killer.
In the news this week, of course, we've got a lot happening and a lot to report, as we always do. I said earlier, though, I was briefly hinting to a really great story, that of a security officer who came down with the COVID virus, a security officer working at a hospital, had to, he himself, be hospitalized, go under the care of medical professionals, doctors and nurses and support staff. And now Jeff Orston is out at the Banner University Hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, giving new hope to those who have come to the hospital infected and to the families of those infected. Jeff said he'd always tried to help wherever he could. But now, after surviving the COVID virus himself, he wants people to know, first of all, that this is a real illness, regardless of, the fact that there's other blah, blah. He doesn't care. He just wants you to know that this is a real illness, very severe, as the flu can be for anybody, really. It doesn't have to be some 90-year-old or some 5-year-old. People die from the flu in their 20s and teens and mid-30s and so forth. But Jeff is there at the Banner University Hospital telling his story, being a light in the darkness, an inspiration for those. And we want to salute him. In fact, we have one of our POI reps reaching out to his hospital within the next couple of days. If not tomorrow, it'll definitely be by Wednesday, talking to HR. And we're going to present him with a COVID-19 award and uniform pin. If you have stories like that, if you've been ill from COVID, if you have known of other officers, send us their information. We'd like to present them with a COVID-19 award. But I'm very happy, Jeff, that you recovered, and I'm definitely happy that you're back on the job and that you are an inspiration to both the patient and the family of the patient. In Richmond, Virginia, the TSA says that they have introduced a new type of technology called CAT, Credential Authorization Technology, ACT. It's a high-tech machine that verifies passports, ID cards, federal identification. It also has a UV light to detect any tampering, any drugs, and so forth. The authentication machine is already in at the airport. They have several of them, and they say so far they have been a success. It speeds up identification of people coming through the Richmond airport. In Saginaw, Michigan, a security officer has taken it upon himself to begin talking with people about how dangerous that it is to have parties in parking lots, how to gather in crowds of 100 to 300, especially for teenagers, and how it's led to several recent shootings. Security officer Kentrez Frazier is out there trying to make people aware about how dangerous it is. You could be a victim of a drive-by shooting. You could be a victim of a robbery, and he wants to get the word out. An off-duty police officer who was working security for Walmart in Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, has been arrested. Jimmy Odell Watts Jr. faces felony charges after he shot up to 8 times a shoplifter who was fleeing. Now, the off-duty officer said that the shoplifter made it into his vehicle and tried to flee and put the officer's life in jeopardy. Some video from Walmart doesn't exactly show that position, and that's why the district attorney has filed those charges. We will be following this, of course, through the court system, and we'll let you know what happens. In Orlando, Florida, TSA is reporting 3 more of their personnel down with the COVID virus. In a message that was sent out July the 23rd, the TSA director, Pete Garcia, said that the officers will not return to work until they're cleared by a doctor. There's been over 60 TSA security officers who have been infected by COVID in the Orlando International Airport alone. We know that close to 1,300, between 1,100 and 1,300, depending on who you believe, actually, TSA employees have come down with COVID. The former police chief of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, his name is Kerr Putney. He's retired about 2 weeks ago, and he landed a job. He is working for one of the regional large security alarm companies called CPI Security, who recently came under fire for comments the CEO made about black-on-black crime. Of course, Chief Putney is well-liked in the region, and he is going to be working as a consultant and business leader there for the company. You may have heard about this some months ago. Seems like a technician, as we're talking about alarm companies, seems like a technician with ADT was able to spy on multiple customers through their video, through their alarm systems. And so there have been multiple lawsuits, more lawsuits pending now in Texas and the region, and we're following that through the court system as well. Hospital security and local police in Norfolk, Virginia, subdued a man and charged him at the Faith Regional Health Service with disorderly conduct and trespassing. The man had been asked to leave and didn't. Then there was a confrontation, and then he was taken to jail. We talked earlier about Texas security officer who was arrested. Right now, we don't believe that he's been released from jail. It's an unfortunate situation, and hopefully, the man will come out of this okay. In Lumberton, North Carolina, that's maybe an hour east of Charlotte, North Carolina, 2 women was gunned down in front of the Family Dollar store in their parking lot Friday last week. Police don't know what happened, just that a vehicle drove up and killed both women in the parking lot, and they are still investigating. A Virginia security officer in Martinsville, Virginia, critical condition after he was hit on his bicycle riding to work. Hit-and-run driver fled. Police are still investigating. Police say that the security officer, John Eric Johnston, 55, is going to make it, but he's gone through a lot of medical issues, surgeries, and he was left for dead. I, again, hope and pray that he is recovers soon and that his assailant is found. 5 employees at the UPS distribution center in Lexington County, South Carolina, Byron Burke, 19, Jalen Green, 19, Deshaun Kenny, 18, Kenyon Peters, 18, and Trevon Williams, 19, all have been arrested for stealing handguns at the UPS distribution center. This involved local, county, state, and federal law enforcement. They were able to conduct an investigation to make these arrests. Firearms cannot be mailed through the USPS, the Postal Service, but they can be mailed through UPS and FedEx. A security officer in Long Beach, California, lost his life last week while chasing a suspected shoplifter from a store. He also was hit and struck by a vehicle who then left him in the middle of the road, and he was hit a second time by another vehicle. No suspects arrested, and we don't have a name of the security officer. In Washington, D.C., a private police officer under contract for CVS has been fired during a shoplifting arrest. Video shows the special police officer using a chokehold on the man who was resisting. The SPO was trying to get the handcuffs on the suspect, but he was flailing and fighting. The CVS released a statement, said that the force seems so unnecessary for such a small offense, and they terminated the special police company, and they don't know if they're going to bring anyone back. The Unified School Police uniformed officers in L.A. reported just a couple of days ago that 215 schools have been broken into in L.A. County since the school shut down. Burglaries are up over 200%. Imagine that. We're seeing the same statistics and the same issues in school districts across the country, and this has something to do with SROs, which is in itself a whole different topic that we definitely want to be talking about soon. In Newark, New Jersey, TSA done a great job. They spotted a woman coming through Newark Liberty International Airport last Monday, and in a lining of a suitcase, they discovered an AR-15, a broken down assault rifle with a high-capacity magazine, 4 boxes of hollow points. Not sure what she intended to do with all of this, but it was a good catch by TSA, and hopefully this woman is prosecuted to the fullest extent, and more than likely TSA really probably saved people from being hurt, prevented maybe even an active shooter situation. School police and SROs across the country are saying that they are rewriting policy, rewriting their duties, hoping to save jobs and hoping to show the community how valuable they are. And we are actually participating in something similar in the Carolinas and Virginia. And if you need assistance, if you're an SRO, you work for a private security company inside a school, contact helpdesk at privateofficer.com. We'll be able to help you out. A longtime supervisor of security at the University of New Hampshire has died of COVID. The school released an announcement a few days ago about the sudden passing of Gary Sears, who had been on the campus for 33 years. We know that he'll be missed. One dead in a double shooting at St. Louis Galleria Mall. Security responded to shots fired inside the mall. Police responded. We just heard before we came on air this morning an arrest was made in this, and we'll be bringing you more information as it's released. Also in the news this week, a man arrested after he pulled out a gun over not wearing a face mask at a Royal Palm Beach, Florida Walmart. Authorities say that he was confronted about not wearing a face mask, which is required to be inside any Walmart nationwide, any McDonald's also nationwide, and numerous other stores. You got to wear a mask. Vincent Scavetta, 28, pulled out a handgun. He's been charged with several felonies, which he should be. He had a concealed weapons permit. Hopefully that's taken away. And this was the whole event was ridiculous. I reviewed some video. I read the police report and the public news articles. It just seemed just ridiculous. Here's a very neat company that you may or may not be aware of. They're called Alpha and Omega Mounted Patrol. They are out of Texas, South Lake, Texas. They've been around for 30 years, celebrating 30 years in business. They usually provide high visibility security on horseback, crowd control at concerts, special events, and they also have a contract in the Woodlands Township. I believe that's right outside of Houston or Dallas, one of those major cities. They have had that contract for 27 years, patrolling the downtown business district on horseback. Congratulations to the owners of Omega, Alpha and Omega Mounted Patrols, and we hope that you have another 30 years. In Alabama, this will be the second mall that we know of in Alabama. The Hoover, Alabama Galleria Mall has hired a new security officer of sorts. He is a black lab, a gun detecting security canine officer. He is certified to detect all types of gunpowder, weapons, and probably drugs. They're not saying that, but I wouldn't doubt it. The reason why is because there's been a number of shootings in the mall in the last couple of years. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, an 8-year-old boy was killed inside the mall during a shooting between two black rival gang members. When we talk about black-on-black crime, here's a prime example. This was ridiculous. They killed an 8-year-old while they were trying to kill each other. Just really, really disheartening. A female security officer in Virginia, in Manassas, who was working at a gated community, was attacked, ambushed at 7 a.m. As she was getting ready to leave work on Piedmont Vista Drive. 2 armed black males ambushed her, and one had a knife and firearm. They robbed her, and they were able to flee. The security officer secured herself. Police were called. Suspect still on the loose. There are a lot of different news items that happen all the time. If you want to get the latest breaking news in your email box, contact us. Go to privateofficer.org and sign up today. privateofficer.org. They're free, and we promise not to sell you information. We're not going to spam you. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a whole lot more that we want to talk about. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio.
For some children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today, because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the Catholic.
In the news this week, of course, we've got recently we have awarded Greg Odom, Susan LeMay, Walter Gardendale, and Howard Nicholson awards of meritorious service. These 4 security officers risked their own life to rescue several people in a sinking pond after they crashed through an apartment complex parking structure into a pond. And we really believe that these 4 are heroes. 2 security officers going off duty, 2 security officers coming on duty immediately responded to the accident, risking their own life by pulling out the passengers in a sinking vehicle, and we say our hats off to them. If you know of someone who has been involved in a heroic action, in a life-saving event, in an incident where they went above and beyond the call of duty, be sure to contact us and submit a recommendation for an award. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Nominate somebody today. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We want to be a blessing to our members, our listeners, our social media friends, and to everyone around us. Over the years, we've had the honor, the privilege, and the good fortune to make something happen for not only myself, but my friends and colleagues, and start a number of businesses, successful businesses. And today, we're giving back even more than we ever have. If you are somebody who's either out of work or somebody who's always wanted to own a business, we have a number of companies that I own or I invest in. And our group has come together in recent weeks, and we have decided to waive most of the fees of the startup involved. We have decided to select as many people as possible across the country to become business owners. Now, in the upcoming 2 weeks, we're going to announce how to submit your name or someone else to be a business owner. We will provide you all training, all material, all support. We will provide you everything. We want you to understand that we're only going to select hardworking, honest, above-board people. We want you to understand that this will not be free. We don't believe in freebies because people don't, where they don't invest, they don't have any ownership. But we will make it where you don't need anything to begin. We will help you to start a business. There are 8 different businesses for the medical professional, if you're an EMT or a paramedic or even a CNA. We've got a business that we could put you into where you could start your own region. If you're looking to start a security company, we have a security company, and we'll provide you with the ability to start your own regional office of that security company and immediately make money. If you're looking to be part of a public safety agency providing services to cities and towns, fire, EMS, law enforcement, and an array of other safety services, if you're a retired law enforcement, retired firefighter, paramedic, public safety professional, this is right up your alley. We'll be able to help you get started immediately. If you are an instructor looking to continue working in that field, that educational industry, we have something besides Armor for you. If you want to own a school, we have Armor College. We have 8 businesses that my partners and I have sat down and worked out a program to put people to work, but not only that, to put them into a business ownership. If you are skeptical, I don't blame you. But as those who know me and those who are POI members can tell you, if I say something, it's true and it's going to happen. If you are interested, be listening 2 weeks from today on the next program. 2 weeks from today, that's August the 10th, we will tell you how to become a business owner in one of 8 businesses with little or no investment up front. 100% support, team support, training. All that you have to do is be willing to learn, be willing to follow directions, be hungry, and we will get you on the road to business ownership. That's going to conclude this episode of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Until the next time, friends, stay safe, be blessed, and we'll see you back on the radio.